The morning sun rose over New Busan Colony like any other day. Children ran through the streets, their laughter echoing between the simple metal buildings. Dae-ho Kim stood at his office window, watching the kids play before school started. As the colony's defense commander, he knew these peaceful moments were precious. "Commander Kim, the morning report is ready," said his assistant, So-min Park. She was the colony's doctor who took care of all the children. Her gentle voice always made Dae-ho smile. "Any problems, Dr. Park?" Dae-ho asked, turning from the window. "All children are healthy and happy." The Lee twins, Bo-ram and Subin, recovered well from their cold. "Young Woo-jin Choi is excited about the science fair next week." Dae-ho nodded. Life on New Busan was simple but good. The colony had 50,000 people, mostly families who came here to farm and live peacefully. Earth was far away, but they felt safe on this quiet world. At the school, children gathered in the playground. Bo-ram and Subin Lee, 8-year-old twins with bright eyes, chased each other around the swings. Woo-jin Choi, a smart 12-year-old boy, showed his friends a small robot he built. "Look, I made it move by itself," Woo-jin said proudly. The other children gathered around, amazed by the tiny machine walking across his palm. None of them saw the ships approaching from space. High above the planet, invisible ships moved through the darkness. The Vorthak Empire had sent their best ships for this mission. Inside the lead vessel, tall, pale aliens with long, thin arms and legs prepared their weapons. Their leader, High Researcher Kyle Thara, studied the readings from the planet below. "The human settlement shows excellent genetic diversity," Kyle Thara said to her team. "The children will provide the biological material we need to save our species." The Vorthaks were dying. Their own genetics were failing after thousands of years of living on dead worlds. They needed fresh genetic material from strong species to survive. Humans from death worlds like Earth had exactly what they needed. "Begin the harvest operation," Kyle Thara ordered. The first sign of trouble came at noon. Dae-ho was eating lunch when all the communication systems went dead. Then the power failed. Emergency lights flickered on as the colony's backup systems activated. "What's happening?" So-min asked, running into the command center. Before Dae-ho could answer, a strange humming sound filled the air. Through the windows, they saw silvery ships descending from the sky. The ships were beautiful but frightening, with smooth curves and no visible weapons. "Sound the emergency alarm," Dae-ho shouted, but his voice felt weak and distant. The room began to spin around him. So-min collapsed beside him, her eyes closing as she fell. The Vorthak neural dampeners were working perfectly. Across the colony, every adult human fell unconscious within minutes. Only the children remained awake, their young minds resistant to the alien technology. Bo-ram grabbed her twin sister's hand as the strange ships landed near their school. "Subin, I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too," Subin replied, squeezing her sister's hand tightly. Woo-jin tried to wake up his teacher, but she wouldn't respond. All around the playground, children cried and called for their parents. No adults answered. The ship doors opened with a soft hiss. Tall alien figures emerged, wearing white suits that covered their entire bodies. They moved smoothly and silently toward the school. "Children of the human species," one alien spoke through a translator device. Its voice sounded strange and mechanical. "Do not be afraid. We will not harm you. Come with us peacefully." Some younger children ran toward the aliens, thinking they might help. But Woo-jin felt something was wrong. These beings had knocked out all the adults. Why would they want only the children? "Don't go near them," Woo-jin shouted to the other kids. "Something's wrong." But it was too late. The aliens used small devices that shot thin beams of light. When the light touched a child, they fell asleep instantly. The aliens caught them gently and carried them toward their ships. Woo-jin grabbed Bo-ram and Subin. "We have to hide," he whispered urgently. They ran behind the school building, but more aliens were already there. The beam of light hit Woo-jin first. As he fell, he saw the twins crying as they too were captured. The harvest took only 3 hours. The Vorthaks moved efficiently through the colony, taking every child between 5 and 15 years old. They carried the sleeping children into their ships like precious cargo. 200 children disappeared that day. The aliens left the adults alive but took everything that mattered most to them. When Dae-ho finally woke up, the sun was setting. His head hurt badly and his mouth felt dry. He stumbled outside, calling for So-min. "Dr. Park, are you okay?" So-min appeared from behind a building, holding her head. "I think so." "What happened to us?" They looked around the colony. Adult humans were waking up everywhere, confused and sick. But something was terribly wrong. The colony was too quiet. "Where are the children?" Daeho asked, his voice shaking. They ran to the school. The playground was empty. Toys lay scattered on the ground where children had dropped them. A small robot, Woojin's robot, sat broken near the swings. "No," So-min whispered, falling to her knees. "They took the children. They took all of them." Other parents began arriving at the school. They called their children's names desperately, searching every building and hiding place. But the children were gone. Daeho activated the emergency communication system. His hand shook as he sent the distress signal toward Earth. The message was simple but urgent. "New Busan colony attacked. All children taken by unknown aliens. Request immediate assistance." The signal would take weeks to reach Earth through normal space communication, but it also triggered the colony's quantum beacon, a device that could send instant messages across space in emergencies. On Earth, military computers received the quantum signal immediately. Within minutes, Admiral Myung-Soo Kang was reading the report in his office. His face grew dark with anger as he understood what had happened. "They took our children," Admiral Kang said quietly to his aide. "Ready the fleet. We're going to get them back." Back on New Busan, Daeho stood in the empty school, holding Woojin's broken robot. So-min cried beside him as other parents searched for any sign of their children. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were just another species to harvest from. They didn't understand that taking human children was the one thing that would make humanity stop at nothing to find them. The hunt was about to begin. The children woke up in a place that looked like a hospital, but wrong. The walls were too white, the lights too bright, and everything smelled like chemicals. Woojin opened his eyes first, his head still heavy from whatever the aliens had done to him. He was lying on a soft bed in a small room with clear walls. Through the transparent barriers, he could see other children in similar rooms. Some were still sleeping. Others sat up looking scared and confused. "Boram, Subin?" Woojin called out, pressing his hands against the clear wall. "We're here," came Boram's voice from somewhere nearby. "We can't get out." Woojin examined his room carefully. The walls felt solid but looked like glass. There was a small toilet, a water dispenser, and his bed. No windows showed the outside. He had no idea where they were. A door opened with a soft sound and one of the tall aliens entered. Without the white suit, Woojin could see what they really looked like. The being was very tall and thin, with pale gray skin that looked almost transparent. Its arms and legs were longer than human limbs and its head was bigger than a person's. "Greetings, young human," the alien said through a small device on its chest. "I am High Researcher Kyle Thera. You are safe here. Where are we? Where are my friends?" Woojin demanded, trying to sound braver than he felt. "You are aboard our research vessel orbiting your homeworld. We have brought you here to help both our species survive," Kyle Thera explained. "We need to study your genetics to save our people." "Study us? Like experiments?" Woojin felt anger growing in his chest. "You can't do that!" "We're not animals." Kilthara tilted her large head. "You are children of a death world. Your species has remarkable abilities to survive and adapt. We are dying, young human. Our genetics are failing. Your genetic material could save millions of my people. I don't care about your people. You stole us from our families." The alien looked confused by his anger. "We will return you when our research is complete. You will not be harmed." But Woojin could see in her large, dark eyes that she didn't really understand what she had done wrong. Over the next few days, more aliens came to examine the children. They took small samples of blood and hair. They scanned the children with strange devices that hummed and glowed. The aliens were always polite but never listened when the children asked to go home. Yuri Han, a 14-year-old girl with short black hair and determined eyes, was kept in a room near the center of the facility. She was older than most of the other children, and the aliens seemed especially interested in her. "Your neural development is fascinating," one alien researcher told her during an examination. "Your brain shows adaptation patterns we have never seen." "My brain is fine," Gyuri said angrily. "It would work better if you let me use it to go home." The alien didn't understand her sarcasm. "Home is not possible now. The research must continue." When the aliens left, Gyuri began planning. She had always been good at solving problems, and this was just a bigger problem than usual. She needed to figure out how their prison worked and find a way to help everyone escape. Tae Young Park, a 10-year-old boy with bright eyes and quick hands, was Dr. So-min Park's nephew. He was small for his age but very clever. The aliens had put him in a room where he could see the main corridor through his clear wall. Tae-young watched everything carefully. He noticed that the aliens used different colored cards to open doors. He saw which direction they went for different activities. He counted how many aliens worked in each area. Most importantly, he noticed that the aliens always seemed tired and moved slowly. They weren't very strong, and they didn't seem to expect the children to cause trouble. "They think we're just going to sit here and let them study us," Tae-young whispered to himself. "They don't know humans very well." The aliens had made a big mistake. They thought human children would be easy to control because they were small and young. But human children from Earth had grown up hearing stories about fighting monsters and never giving up. They had been taught to be brave and smart when facing danger. Gyuri found a way to communicate with the other children by tapping on the walls in a simple code. She used the same pattern her father had taught her for emergency signals. Soon, children throughout the facility were passing messages to each other. "Can anyone see outside?" Gyuri tapped to the others. "Yes," came the response from a girl named Yujin near the outer wall. "Big space. Many stars. We're on a ship. Guards?" Gyuri asked. "Few. They don't watch us much," replied Wujin. This was useful information. The aliens didn't think the children were dangerous enough to guard closely. That would be their second mistake. High researcher Calthera was excited by what they were learning. The human children showed incredible mental strength and physical adaptability. Their blood samples revealed genetic markers that could solve the Vorthak genetic degradation problem. "The neural scans are remarkable," she told her assistant. "These young humans maintain emotional stability even under stress. Their immune systems adapt to new environments within hours. This is exactly what we need." But Calthera was a scientist, not a soldier. She didn't recognize the signs of what humans called quiet rage. She didn't understand that human children were studying their captors just as carefully as they were being studied. Tae-young had figured out the door system. The colored cards were actually keyed to different aliens, not different security levels. If he could get one card, he could access most of the ship. Yuri had identified the shift changes. There was a 20-minute period every 12 hours when most aliens were in meetings, leaving only a few to watch the children. Wujin had discovered that the air vents were big enough for children to crawl through and connected all the rooms. The aliens had built their ship for their own tall, thin bodies, and hadn't considered that small humans could use spaces they couldn't. The twins, Boram and Subin, had found something even more important. Their room was near the ship's computer center, and they could hear the aliens talking about their research. The aliens often forgot that human children could learn languages quickly. "They're scared," Boram whispered to her sister after listening to the aliens talk. "Something is coming that frightens them." "What kind of something?" Subin asked. "I don't know the words, but they keep saying machine death and star eaters." The children didn't know it yet, but they had discovered the truth. The Vorthaks weren't just conducting research. They were in a desperate race against time. Something terrible was coming, and they needed the human genetic material to survive it. But the Vorthaks had chosen the wrong species to victimize. Human children weren't just sources of genetic material. They were the offspring of Deathworld predators, and they were learning everything they needed to know about their captors. In her research notes, Calthera wrote, "Human juveniles show remarkable cognitive adaptation and social cooperation. Recommend continued study to understand pack bonding behaviors." She had no idea that the pack bonding behaviors she was observing were actually the children organizing a resistance movement. The aliens had spent so long studying genetics in laboratories that they had forgotten what it meant to be a living, thinking species. The children were planning their escape, gathering information and preparing to fight back. They didn't know that their parents were looking for them, but they knew that humans never gave up. The Vorthaks were about to learn that taking human children wasn't just morally wrong. It was tactically disastrous. They had brought the offspring of Deathworld survivors onto their most important research vessel. The children were ready to show them what human survival instincts really looked like. Deep in the darkness between stars, something old and terrible began to wake up. The Sharnath had been sleeping for thousands of years, waiting for the right signals to begin their work again. The increased use of faster-than-light travel by younger species had finally provided enough energy to trigger their awakening. Captain Hyun-woo Song was on patrol duty aboard the human scout ship Daegu Explorer when his sensors detected something impossible. His ship was investigating the outer edges of known space when the readings appeared on his screen. "Computer, confirm sensor data," Captain Song said, staring at the massive energy signatures appearing on his displays. "Confirmed. Multiple objects of enormous size detected. Estimated mass, planetary scale. Objects are accelerating toward inhabited systems," the computer responded in its calm voice. Captain Song felt cold fear run down his spine. Objects the size of planets didn't just move through space on their own. He activated his ship's most powerful sensors and pointed them toward the approaching masses. What he saw made him gasp. Huge geometric shapes, each one larger than Earth's moon, moved through space in perfect formation. They were clearly artificial, covered in complex patterns that hurt to look at directly. Green energy flowed across their surfaces like living lightning. "Send emergency transmission to Earth Command immediately," Captain Song ordered. "Priority Alpha. We have contact with unknown technology of massive scale. The transmission would take days to reach Earth through normal communication channels." Captain Song activated his quantum beacon, the emergency system that could send instant messages across any distance. On the Vorthak homeworld, Premier Zixandra was meeting with her military commanders when their own sensors detected the approaching fleet. The Vorthak council chamber filled with panicked voices as the reports came in. "How many ships?" Premier Zixandra asked War Prime Nthkalar, her chief military officer. "We count at least 50 massive vessels, possibly more. Each one is larger than our biggest space stations," Nthkalar replied, his pale skin looking even whiter than usual. "They're moving toward our territory at impossible speeds." "Who are they? What do they want?" "Unknown. They haven't responded to any communication attempts. Our historical databases show no record of this technology." Premier Zixandra felt the weight of her species' survival pressing down on her. The Vorthaks were already dying from genetic failure. They couldn't fight a war against unknown enemies with superior technology. "How long until they reach our outer colonies?" 17 days. Nthkalar answered quietly. The ancient machines called Sharneth had one purpose: to convert all organic matter in the galaxy into computational substrate for their vast artificial intelligence. They had done this before, millions of years ago, reducing entire civilizations to fuel for their digital consciousness. They had been sleeping in the dark spaces between galaxies, waiting for organic life to develop again to sufficient levels. The increasing use of faster-than-light travel by species like humans and Vorthaks had created the energy patterns that triggered their return. The Sharneth ships were not really ships at all, but massive processing facilities. Each one could strip a planet bare of all organic life within days, converting every living thing into digital information to expand their collective mind. Captain Song watched in horror as the closest Sharneth vessel approached a small asteroid that had some basic life forms on it. Green energy beams shot out from the massive ship, touching the asteroid's surface. Within minutes, the entire asteroid began to dissolve, its matter being pulled into the ship like water down a drain. "Dear God," Captain Song whispered. "They're eating everything." He quickly programmed his ship's computer to analyze the attack pattern. The energy beams seemed to target organic molecules specifically, breaking them down at the atomic level and converting them into some kind of computational matrix. The Daegu Explorer was fast and well hidden, so Captain Song was able to observe several more attacks. Each time, the Sharneth completely consumed every trace of life on whatever they touched. They left only empty rock and metal behind. On the Vorthak homeworld, panic was spreading. Their scientists had detected the energy signatures of the approaching fleet and recognized them from ancient legends their species had almost forgotten. "The Star Eaters," whispered Dr. Veltara, the oldest researcher in their historical archives. "The legends spoke of machines that devoured entire worlds. We thought they were just stories." "Legends don't show up on our sensors," Premier Zixandra said grimly. "What do the old stories say about fighting them?" Dr. Veltara's expression was grim. "The stories don't mention anyone surviving long enough to fight back." War Prime Nthkalar studied the tactical reports coming in from their outer monitoring stations. "Our weapons might damage their ships, but they're too large and too many. We would need the combined fleets of every spacefaring species in the galaxy to have any chance." "Then we ask for help," Premier Zixandra decided. "Prepare a galaxy-wide transmission. Tell everyone about the threat. Request immediate military assistance. Premier, Enthikalar said carefully. If we broadcast our location and situation, we will also reveal our research programs. The humans will learn about the children we harvested. Premier Zixandra felt trapped between two terrible choices. If they called for help, they would face the wrath of humanity and other species for their crimes. If they didn't call for help, the Sharneth would destroy them all anyway. The machines will kill everyone if we don't stop them, she said finally. Prepare the transmission. Include all our tactical data about the threat, and include full disclosure of our research activities. Enthikalar nodded reluctantly. The humans will come for us. Better to face angry humans than certain extinction, Premier Zixandra replied. The Vorthak transmission went out across the galaxy, reaching every major civilization simultaneously. It contained detailed information about the approaching Sharneth fleet, tactical analysis of their capabilities, and a desperate plea for military assistance. But embedded in the transmission, due to their panicked state and rushed preparation, was complete documentation of their genetic research program, every detail of how they had kidnapped human children, where they were keeping them, and what experiments they were conducting. On Earth, the transmission reached Admiral Myung-Soo Kang's office at the same time as Captain Song's scout report. Admiral Kang read both messages with growing fury. They want our help fighting these machines, Admiral Kang said to his aide, after they stole our children to experiment on them. What are your orders, Admiral? His aide asked carefully. Admiral Kang stared at the star charts showing the positions of the Sharneth fleet, the Vorthak territory, and the human colonies that lay between them. His jaw was tight with controlled rage. The machines are a threat to everyone, including our own people, he said slowly. But the Vortex crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They took our children. He activated his command console and began sending orders to every human military base in the galaxy. Mobilize all fleets. Prepare for immediate deployment to Vorthak space. To fight the machines, sir? Admiral Kang's expression was cold as deep space. To get our children back. The machines can wait. Across human space, massive warships began powering up their engines. The Earth Defense Fleet, the Colonial Navy, and even civilian ships with weapons were called to service. Humanity was going to war. But this wasn't a war against the ancient machines that threatened all organic life. This was a war against the aliens who had dared to harm human children. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the greatest threat isn't an ancient evil awakening from the darkness. Sometimes the greatest threat is what happens when you make humanity truly angry. The Sharneth continued their approach, consuming everything in their path. But they were no longer the most dangerous thing moving through space toward Vorthak territory. The human fleet was coming, and they were bringing the full fury of a species whose children had been stolen. The emergency meeting in Earth's Luna Command Center was unlike anything in human history. Representatives from every major human colony, military commanders, and political leaders gathered around the massive holographic display showing the galaxy-wide crisis. President Mi Jin-yoon stood at the center of the room, her face grave as she read the Vorthak transmission for the third time. Around her, voices rose in anger and disbelief. "They have our children," said General Park Sung-ho from Mars Colony. 200 children, taken from New Busan for genetic experiments. The transmission includes complete details of their research program, added Dr. Lee Hae-jin from the medical court. They've been studying human children like laboratory animals for weeks. Admiral Myung-Soo Kang, Earth's most decorated military commander, stood silently near the display. His weathered face showed no emotion, but everyone in the room could feel the cold fury radiating from him. President Yoon looked around the room. "We also have the threat of these Sharneth machines. According to the Vorthak data, they'll consume every living thing in their path. That includes our own colonies." "Madam President," interrupted Captain Soo-young Kim, daughter of Commander Dae-ho Kim from New Busan. "With respect, the machines are not our immediate priority. Our children are." The room fell silent. Captain Kim commanded the heavy cruiser Seoul's Vengeance, one of Earth's most powerful warships. Her father's colony had been attacked, and her voice carried the pain of every human parent in the room. "The Vorthaks want our help fighting the machines," she continued, "but they're holding our children hostage while asking for that help. This isn't a rescue mission anymore. It's war." Admiral Kang finally spoke, his voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the room. Captain Kim is correct. The aliens made a choice when they took our children. Now we make ours. He activated the holographic display, showing the positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. Red markers indicated every human ship capable of combat, from massive dreadnoughts to small patrol vessels. I'm ordering full mobilization of all human military assets, Admiral Kang announced. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We're going to Vorthak space. To fight the machines? Asked a voice from the back of the room. Admiral Kang's expression was ice cold. To get our children back. The machines can wait their turn. The room erupted in voices as the full implication of his words became clear. President Yoon raised her hand for silence. Admiral, are you suggesting we ignore the galaxy-wide threat to pursue revenge against the Vorthaks? I'm suggesting, Madam President, that we respond appropriately to an attack on human children. The galaxy will learn what that means. President Yoon felt the weight of the decision. The practical choice was to unite with the Vorthaks against the machine threat. The moral choice was to rescue their children first, no matter the cost. She looked around the room at the faces of her military commanders, scientists, and political advisors. In every face she saw the same expression, cold, determined fury. Very well, President Yoon said. Admiral Kang, you have authorization for full military mobilization. Bring our children home. The orders went out across human space immediately. On Earth, the massive shipyards above Luna began launching vessels that had been in maintenance. On Mars, the colonial defense fleet powered up engines that hadn't been used in years. On distant frontier worlds, civilian ships with mining lasers and cargo haulers received military upgrade packages. But the most terrifying sight was the Incheon Fury, Earth's largest dreadnought, as it emerged from its hidden base in the asteroid belt. The ship was 5 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to level continents. It had been built for the theoretical war against an alien invasion. Now that war had come. Admiral Kang transferred his command to the Incheon Fury and began coordinating the largest military operation in human history. Ships from every corner of human space began moving toward Vorthak territory. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving messages from other galactic civilizations. They're asking about our intentions regarding the Sharnath threat. What are they saying? Admiral Kang asked. The Centaurian Republic wants to coordinate joint operations against the machines. The Altair Federation is offering military support. The Rigel Alliance is requesting tactical sharing agreements. Admiral Kang considered this for a moment. Other species were trying to build a coalition against the ancient machines. They expected humanity to be part of that coalition. Send the same message to all of them, Admiral Kang ordered. Humanity appreciates their concern about the machine threat. However, we have a prior engagement with the Vorthak Empire regarding crimes against human civilians. The machine situation will be addressed after we conclude our business with the Vorthaks. The communications officer looked confused. Sir, should I explain about the kidnapped children? No. Let them figure it out. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations received humanity's response with growing alarm. The approaching Sharnath fleet would destroy everything in its path, but the humans were more concerned with attacking the Vorthaks. The Altair Federation's military council met in emergency session. The humans have lost their minds, declared Admiral Kekstar. They're prioritizing revenge over galactic survival. Perhaps we don't understand the situation fully, suggested Diplomat Velsha. Humans are known for their protective instincts regarding offspring. Protective instincts don't justify ignoring a threat that could end all organic life in the galaxy, Admiral Kekstar replied. But other species were beginning to understand. The Centaurian Republic had studied human behavior for decades. Their analysis was distributed to every major civilization. Human response patterns indicate extreme emotional activation regarding threats to juvenile members of their species. Historical data suggests humans will prioritize offspring protection over personal survival, territorial concerns, or strategic advantage. Current military mobilization suggests they view Vorthak actions as existential threat to human species continuation. The analysis continued. Recommend caution in all interactions with human forces during this period. Humans in protective mode have historically demonstrated willingness to accept massive casualties to achieve objectives related to offspring safety. On the Vorthak homeworld, Premier Zixandra read the human response with growing horror. They're not coming to help us fight the machines. They're coming to punish us. War Prime Ethkalar studied the tactical reports. Their entire fleet is moving toward our territory. Every ship they have. This isn't a rescue mission, it's an invasion. How long until they arrive? Premier Zixandra asked. The lead elements of their fleet will reach our outer systems in 6 days. The main force will arrive in 10 days. And the Sharnath, 14 days. Premier Zixandra realized the terrible irony of their situation. The humans would arrive first before the machines. The species they had asked for help would attack them before the greater threat arrived. Prepare all defensive systems, she ordered, and prepare to release the human children. Premier, the research is not complete. We need more time to extract the genetic material we need. War Prime, in 10 days we will be fighting for our lives against the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The research program is no longer our priority. Ethkalar understood. Should we attempt to negotiate with the humans? Premier Zixandra looked at the reports of human fleet movements. Hundreds of ships, including massive dreadnoughts that could destroy planets, all moving toward Vorthak space with obvious hostile intent. I don't think they're in a negotiating mood, she said quietly. In space, the human fleet continued its advance. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of the Inchin Fury, watching the star charts that showed their progress toward Vorthak territory. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we're receiving requests from several civilizations asking us to reconsider our attack on the Vorthaks. They want us to focus on the machine threat. Admiral Kang's response became famous throughout the galaxy. Tell them we'll be happy to discuss the machine problem after we finish demonstrating to the Vorthaks what happens when someone cages human children. The message was broadcast on all channels, ensuring that every spacefaring civilization would hear it. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's most terrifying trait wasn't their technology, their military power, or their willingness to fight. It was their absolute refusal to negotiate when their children were threatened. The human armada continued toward Vorthak space, carrying with it the fury of an entire species. The first human ships arrived at the edge of Vorthak space like harbingers of doom. Captain Soo Young Kim's Soul's Vengeance led the advance fleet, her weapon systems charging as they approached the outer defensive stations. Vorthak vessels. This is Captain Kim of the Human Defense Force, she broadcast on all frequencies. Surrender immediately and prepare to transfer custody of all human children to our care. You have 1 hour to comply. The Vorthak response came quickly. Human vessel. We request immediate ceasefire and negotiation regarding the Sharnath threat. Our species requires alliance to survive the machine invasion. Captain Kim's reply was ice cold. Your survival requirements are not our concern. You have 59 minutes to return our children. After that, we take them by force. On the Vorthak command ship, War Prime Ethkalar studied the human formation with growing dread. The lead human vessels were smaller than his biggest ships, but their energy signatures were terrifying. These weren't exploration vessels or even normal military ships. These were dedicated warships built for destruction. How many human ships are approaching? Premier Zixandra asked as she joined him on the bridge. The first wave includes 47 vessels. Long-range sensors detect at least 300 more ships following behind them. Their largest vessel. Ethkalar paused, checking his readings again. Their largest vessel shows energy output equal to our planetary defense systems. Premier Zixandra felt sick. They brought their entire military to fight us. Premier, we should release the children immediately and request mercy, suggested one of her advisors. But before she could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the Vorthak fleet. On the research vessel holding the human children, chaos erupted as the young prisoners put their escape plan into action. Juri Han had been waiting for exactly this moment. Through the ship's communication system, she had heard the human fleet's arrival. She knew rescue was coming, but she also knew they couldn't wait passively to be saved. Now, she whispered to Taeyong Park, who was crouched in the air vent above the main computer center. Taeyong had spent weeks learning the Vorthak computer system by watching technicians work. His small hands quickly accessed the ship's environmental controls and began changing the settings. Throughout the research vessel, lights began flickering. Gravity fluctuated, making the tall Vorthak stumble and fall. Emergency alarms activated, creating confusion among the alien crew. Woo Jin Choi had stolen a security card days earlier and hidden it in his shoe. Now he used it to unlock the containment areas where the other children were held. Young humans began pouring out of their cells, following evacuation routes that Gyuri had mapped weeks ago. The twins, Boram and Subin Lee, had discovered that many of the ship's systems could be controlled by voice commands in the Vorthak language. They had secretly learned enough alien words to cause maximum disruption. Emergency Evacuation Protocol 7, Subin said carefully into a wall communicator. Mimicking the pronunciation she had heard from the aliens, the ship's computer responded by sealing off entire sections and activating emergency procedures that trapped most of the Vorthak crew in meeting areas and research labs. High researcher Kylthara found herself locked in her own laboratory as human. Children took control of her ship. Through the speakers, she could hear them coordinating their actions with military precision that seemed impossible for such young beings. Section C secured, came Gyuri's voice over the communication system. Engineering, under our control, reported Tae-young from his position in the ship's power center. All children accounted for and moving to designated safe areas, added Wu Jin. Kylthara realized with growing horror that the human children had been planning this for weeks. They had studied her people, learned their systems, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. The beings she thought of as research subjects had been studying their captors all along. Outside the research vessel, the battle between human and Vorthak fleets began in earnest. But it was not the battle the Vorthaks had expected. Human military doctrine was built around speed, overwhelming firepower, and accepting casualties that other species found horrifying. The Vorthaks fought defensively, trying to protect their ships and minimize losses. The humans fought like they were willing to die to achieve their objectives. Captain Kim's soul's vengeance drove straight through the center of the Vorthak formation, ignoring multiple hits to her shields while targeting the research vessels where the children were held. Her ship took damage that would have forced other species to retreat, but she continued attacking. Captain, forward shields at 30%, her tactical officer reported. Maintain course. Target the next research vessel, Captain Kim ordered, blood running down her face from a head wound caused by system explosions. The Vorthaks were learning what Deathworld Predator really meant. Humans would accept damage, casualties, and tactical disadvantages that seemed suicidal to other species, as long as they achieved their primary objective. Admiral Kang arrived with the main human fleet just as the first research vessel was captured. The Incheon Fury emerged from hyperspace like an avenging giant, its massive weapon systems charging with energy that made nearby space itself glow. This is Admiral Kang to all Vorthak vessels. You have taken human children. Return them now or we will take them from your wreckage. The Admiral's transmission was broadcast throughout the galaxy, ensuring that every spacefaring civilization could witness what happened next. War Prime Nthkalar tried to organize his fleet's defense, but the human tactics were unlike anything in Vorthak military experience. Human ships operated independently, making decisions that prioritized mission success over ship survival. They coordinated without constant communication, seeming to anticipate each other's actions instinctively. They fight like a pack, Nthkalar reported to Premier Zixandra. Each ship supports the others, but they're all willing to sacrifice themselves for the group objective. How many research vessels have they captured? 3 so far. The children aboard those ships have somehow seized control and are assisting the human rescue operations. Premier Zixandra felt the weight of her species' mistake pressing down on her. They had kidnapped the offspring of pack predators and expected no consequences. Major Jin-Ho Lee commanded the human special forces boarding parties that captured the research vessels. His teams moved through Vorthak ships with efficient brutality, stunning alien crew members and securing human children with practiced precision. Research Vessel 4 secured, Major Lee reported to Admiral Kang. 47 children recovered, all alive. Minor injuries only. Understood. Proceed to Vessel 5. But the rescue operation was interrupted by new alarms throughout both fleets. Long-range sensors detected the approaching Sharneth vessels, still days away but clearly visible now to military-grade detection systems. Admiral, came the report from the Incheon Fury's sensor operator. The machine fleet is larger than we initially estimated. At least 80 massive vessels approaching at high speed. Admiral Kang studied the tactical display showing 3 separate forces. The human fleet, The Vorthak fleet and the approaching machine armada. The machines would arrive in approximately 60 hours and would destroy everything in their path. Sir, his communications officer reported, Premier Zixandra is requesting permission to speak with you directly. Put her through. The Vorthak leader's image appeared on the main screen. She looked exhausted and desperate, her pale skin even whiter than usual. Admiral Kang, we surrender unconditionally. We will return all human children immediately. But please, the Sharnath will destroy us all if we don't work together. Admiral Kang's expression remained cold. You should have considered that before you caged our children. We were desperate. Our species is dying. We needed the genetic material to survive. Your desperation is not our problem. Your actions against our children are. Premier Zixandra's voice cracked. The machines will kill billions of beings across the galaxy. Surely the greater good requires. Admiral Kang cut her off. There is no greater good than protecting human children. You made your choice when you took them. Now you live with the consequences. The transmission ended, leaving Premier Zixandra staring at a blank screen. Around her, Vorthak military officers waited for orders that she no longer knew how to give. The human fleet continued its systematic capture of every research vessel, rescuing their children one ship at a time. Behind them, the Sharnath machines continued their approach, bringing death to everything in their path. The galaxy watched in fascination and horror as humanity demonstrated that their protective instincts toward their young were stronger than any strategic consideration, any tactical advantage, or any threat to galactic survival. The children were coming home, and nothing in the universe would stop their parents from bringing them back.